Hello, and thank you for tuning into this presentation on leveraging a cost of gun violence study to advance public health prevention, practice, community safety, and racial justice. My name is Alyssa Leung, and I'm a program assistant at Prevention Institute. I'm joined by my colleague, Zach Tarot, who is a program coordinator. We are members of the team that worked on the project we're about to describe to you today. We represent a national nonprofit organization called Prevention Institute, with offices in Oakland, Los Angeles, Houston, and Washington, D.C. We promote health, safety, and well-being through thriving, equitable communities. To learn more, please visit our website linked here. Today, we are going to share about a cost of gun violence study that was conducted by the Santa Clara County Health Department in partnership with Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation and Prevention Institute. When learning about public health, prevention theories, and frameworks, it can be helpful to look at a case example, especially a contemporary one, where issues such as collaboration, use of data, ethics, racial justice, community voice, and communications all come into play. The majority of the work on the cost of gun violence study was conducted by the Santa Clara County Public Health Department, as well as the Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation. The health department was responsible for project oversight, data collection, and overall guidance on the development of the report. Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation led data collection and analysis, as well as writing the methodology, findings, and limitations of the study. Prevention Institute contributed to the framing of gun violence as a preventable public health issue in the development of recommendations for the Board of Supervisors based on study findings. And before you listen to the rest of this presentation, it may be helpful to take a few minutes to scan the study and become familiar with it by clicking the link included on this slide. Therefore, today, we'll describe a cost of gun violence study completed in 2022 in Santa Clara County, California, specifically to support learning related to two objectives. One, learn about how a cost of gun violence study can be leveraged to elevate gun violence as a preventable public health issue and advance community safety and racial justice. Two, reinforce the value of including qualitative data in a quantitative study to encourage community collaboration and advocacy. We'll accomplish these objectives by sharing about some work that Prevention Institute did that is not always typically included in quantitative studies, including some strategic pre-work, listening sessions, and including quotes from community members in the study.
Thanks, Alyssa. The Health Department asked Prevention Institute to go through these steps because they knew that in undertaking such a large and complex quantitative study, they wanted to make sure the study would be useful for advancing community safety, racial justice, and gun violence prevention. Adding dimension to and extending the utility of the study was a priority. There's a lot of text on this slide, so at any point, feel free to pause if you'd like to read it. One way to increase the usefulness of a study is to interview people who have completed similar studies to find out how their work was used and ask for advice on how to ensure your study will be used similarly. This is where collaboration with the community and communications come into play. This slide details out the initial request for the Board of Supervisors to the Health Department around the cost of gun violence study, as well as Prevention Institute's involvement in the strategizing stage prior to embarking on the study. The board requested that the Health Department prepare a report in conjunction with a study on the costs incurred across the county as a result of gun violence going back over 2 decades to the year 2000. The main focus of the report was to report cost estimates incurred across the continuum of services related to gun violence, including medical responders, legal services, and law enforcement related expenses. Prevention Institute was involved in thinking with the Health Department about how to leverage this study as an opportunity to frame gun violence as a preventable public health issue. As part of this process, Prevention Institute led a series of key informant interviews with subject matter experts across the country with experience in conducting cost of studies, as well as a review of previously published cost of studies related to public health issues. This research and interview process culminated in Prevention Institute producing a memo for the Health Department with guidance to shape the study, including how to leverage the cost of gun violence study as an opportunity to incorporate community voice, a form of qualitative data, to characterize gun violence as a preventable public health issue with suggestions for action by the board. This guidance to shape the study sought to take advantage of the opportunity for the health department to elevate gun violence as a preventable public health issue. To do that, we encourage the health department through the process of developing the study to emphasize community leadership, building on previous community engagement efforts and existing evidence-informed resources, investing in strategic communication, and finally, to prioritize finding solutions grounded in health equity and racial justice. These 5 points of guidance listed on this slide were a helpful foundation for Prevention Institute and the Health Department to partner on aspects of the cost of gun violence study related to framing gun violence as a preventable public health issue and developing a set of recommended actions for the Board of Supervisors to consider. Our initial memo demonstrates the value of leveraging quantitative studies as opportunities to advance community-driven collaboration and advocacy. A large part of the cost of gun violence study involved gathering retrospective quantitative data on gun violence across the county and using statistics to put together a comprehensive snapshot of the cost of gun violence in Santa Clara County. Prevention Institute was not involved in the process of collecting or analyzing cost data. We want to commend the Health Department and Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation for leading that process. Instead, Prevention Institute was asked to continue our partnership with the Health Department and build on the initial memo and recommendations we put together before the study began. Prevention Institute contributed to the framing of gun violence as a preventable public health issue and put together a set of recommended directions for action to accompany the quantitative gun violence data. These recommendations were different from the guidance in the memo and that they were developed to be included in the final study report for the Board of Supervisors to consider in tandem with the cost data. To inform these recommendations for potential policy, program, and budget solutions to address gun violence, Prevention Institute led a 3-part activity process of gathering qualitative data and insights. The first included secondary research and document review of cost of gun violence studies and similar initiatives in other locales. Second, we conducted interviews with subject matter experts in the field of community safety and cost of gun violence studies. Third, we hosted a series of 9 hour-long listening sessions with stakeholders across sectors within Santa Clara County. The qualitative data from these 3 processes were analyzed and refined into a set of 6 recommendations for action that are in the final cost of gun violence report. As you can see, these activities help to ensure that the primarily quantitative study included qualitative data from a wide range of community stakeholders and subject matter experts, thereby engaging those stakeholders in the study process and encouraging their collaboration with the Health Department and reinforcing the value of their voice as collaborators and potential advocates. Again, this is because the Health Department was committed to leveraging the study as an opportunity to elevate gun violence as a preventable public health issue and advance community safety and racial justice.
Thanks, Zach. Now, I'd like to tell you a bit more about those listening sessions that Zach mentioned. To uplift the importance of community leaders' voices, our team facilitated a listening session series with a diverse range of stakeholders across various sectors, representing a wide range of interests and communities that live across Santa Clara County. In our conversations, we inquired and collected responses on participants' perspectives on root causes of gun violence and potential solutions and policy recommendations. We relied on community members' perspectives from their lived experiences and contextual and professional insights as critical qualitative data. Once we conducted the listening sessions, we compiled the policy, program, and budget ideas suggested by participants. To refine the recommendations, we developed criteria grounded in consideration for racial and health equity. We asked, does the policy, system, and/or program address root contributors to gun violence mentioned in listening sessions? Advance racial equity and avoid unintended harm? All 8 criteria, especially the 4 on the left, guided the final recommendations for the Santa Clara County Health Department. The health department and their partners then took our initial analysis and refined them to develop the ultimate recommendations that were included, shown on the next slide.
We've included the recommendations here that made it into the final report and encourage you to look back at the report for further details on each of these strategies for preventing gun violence. And again, we encourage you to pause this presentation if you would like to read the recommendations across this slide and the next. The team involved in this study adopted a data-driven approach across all aspects of the project, which was carried through to the final report. The report includes direct quotes from community stakeholders affiliated with various advocacy groups and community-based organizations, which highlights the value of qualitative data and the voice of community leaders as integral for understanding contributors to gun violence and envisioning solutions, which we wanted to uplift as it aligns with Objective 2 of our presentation. The qualitative data shared here speaks to solutions focused on long-term allocation of resources into solutions that are preventative of gun violence, including investment in youth and allocation of resources to uplift communities. We hope that our incorporation of direct quotes gives you a strong example of how qualitative data can help to advance community safety, racial justice, and gun violence prevention. In addition to the process of developing the recommendations for potential solutions within the report, Prevention Institute combed the final report draft for racially biased language and recommended changes that firmly frame inequities as rooted in structural racism and firmly frame communities of color with asset-based language and as agents of change. Wherever possible, we repeated language that elevated the need for community-centered and community-driven solutions. Within the limitations of stock photos accessible to the county, we advocated for images that show people of color as leaders in advancing solutions while avoiding images that uphold racist stereotypes. We encouraged the inclusion of community-centered images that showed people and their lives in context rather than police cars and violent imagery. The health department was completely aligned with this approach, and we were glad we were able to provide a second set of eyes to catch the insidious ways that racial bias can permeate language and images. A link to the full study report, again, is at the bottom of this slide.
The recommendations included in the report were approved by the County Board of Supervisors, and now the county is moving into mobilizing people and resources to implement them. In acknowledging what the health department was able to accomplish, a subject matter expert at a national safety organization shared, "You did so many things at once here. The emphasis of this report on racial/ethnic disparities in gun violence, in addition to highlighting the areas in the county that need the most prevention and intervention supports and services, is really important. Hearing that different stakeholders now have something tangible to take action on really pushes the county to do something holistically about it." The quote illustrates the importance of uplifting community voice in a data-driven approach to address violence in communities. They affirm the value of leveraging qualitative data studies towards community-driven collaboration and advocacy. To close out our presentation, we'd like to revisit our objectives one last time to carry them through to the end together. By sharing about some work that Prevention Institute did that is not always typically included in quantitative studies, including the strategic pre-work of interviewing people who conducted similar studies, conducting listening sessions, including policy, program, and budget recommendations, and including quotes from community members in the study, we hope you can see how the Santa Clara County Health Department was successful in leveraging the study as an opportunity to leverage gun violence as a preventable public health issue and valuing qualitative data to encourage community collaboration and advocacy. We are happy to share that the recommendations were adopted unanimously by the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors, and now the county is working to mobilize people and resources to implement them. Please visit our website to learn more about Prevention Institute's work. Our emails are also here if you'd like to reach out. If you'd like to learn more about the partners involved in the Cost of Gun Violence Study, Santa Clara County Health Department, and Pacific Institute for Research and Evaluation, their websites are linked here as well. Thank you for tuning into this presentation.